What kind of tier list are we talking about here? Like
Or
quality of gameplay? Are we talking about likeliness to actually get first place? Like,
I'm talking about overall performance. Connor, you can participate in this if you want. This is for
I was gonna
the
say,
next video.
I'm looking at them, and I think there's only one character I have zero information on. It's fucking Miku over there.
Emma, my girl.
That's just rearranged Miku.
She's
Rearranged.
what? Wait, what? What? I figured Jackie's a good starter because it's Jackie. Honestly,
I would still put her at A tier. She's got a lot of variability in builds with 4 different weapon choices, and she can go skill amp or attack power based. She has strong early game and super strong late game depending on builds, and that's a pretty good starting point.
I was gonna say I'd put her in either A or honestly even S, just because I have the most difficult time dealing with Jackies at endgame if they have a lot of kills.
So
It's just the
here,
easiest
I was gonna
to
say the only reason that I wouldn't put her S tier is because she's so easily kiteable, and you always know exactly what Jackie's gonna do because they
Right.
always go
Yeah.
burr and they
Which
always
is-
just run at you. The old girl that I used to like.
I would probably
I'm-
put her in C. I
was
really
gonna
don't
say
think
C
she's
as
that
well.
strong of a character.
See? Oh, okay.
I mean, you've shown that she can be played good. Every character can be played good, but I think her damage is way too hard to consistently get, and I feel like she's so based on kiting.
she
against,
can't
like, an
hunt
even
well
matchup
unless she
attack.
runs like the life steal attack speed build that you ran, and she can't really make it around the map
But if anybody gets on top of her, she just dies.
Yeah.
pretty much.
So who is next? Anya, is that her name?
Aya?
Aya. That was
I-
close.
She is a one pump chump. She gets her weapon and she gets boots so she can actually keep up with you. And then after like level 8, she's useless. So she'd probably be the definition of B.
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say she's like
only useless for half the game.
absolute B tier.
Um,
Nadine, I feel like falls into almost the exact same category as that.
I actually think Nadine's worse than Aya.
You think she's worse? You have
Yeah,
more
I'd put
experience on
her
the
like.
character, so.
So I would say that Aya's more like flat B, and I
Would you put her
Nadine, like, high
above?
C low B.
I was gonna say
I
you
would-
put her above Heart.
Yeah. So she doesn't have much variability in builds. She doesn't scale insanely well either. Her early game power spike is insane, but she has even less chase potential than Aya. And her dash is like also one of
Awkward.
her main sources of damage because it gives her an attack speed buff while it's on the ground. So
didn't
she
actually know
loses
that.
Yeah, she like loses a main source of her attack speed when her grapple is used for chasing. So she's really not that great even early.
All right, I'm gonna get this out of the way.
I tried playing him, and I feel like he's one of those characters where if you play him perfectly and get all the combos off and land all the abilities, he probably is pretty good. But at the same time, I feel like even if you do all that, he's probably still only like B, maybe A.
I genuinely think he's better than Indian Heart. So if he's played well, I mean, I'm assuming that all the characters here played well.
played well.
So,
Okay.
like, I don't think that a barrier to entry for the character is something I'm even considering for this tier list. I think if he's played properly, he can one-shot any character in the game, except for maybe Magnus when he's full tank build, and Jukai when they're full
And the
tank build.
Batman. Don't forget the Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he can kite
Yeah.
them, so it doesn't matter. Like Magnus can't keep up with Zahir. So I think
So you think he's high, upper C?
I think it's hard because I don't think any of the characters deserve to be in D. I think they're well enough balanced where they're not D.
You gotta put somebody in D. Somebody's gotta take the biscuit.
I mean, then I'd put Hart and Nadine in there, and I'd put Zahir in C if I was gonna do that.
Would not
The biggest
prosper.
reason he's at C tier and not higher is because all of his weapon paths and his his item pathing has a terrible time against the characters he needs to fight early. So he actually can't scale.
Hyun Woo. So we're assuming played well, right?
Yeah.
Fuck. Where do I put Hyun Woo?
I'd put him at B probably.
I think
I was gonna say, I'd probably
I put him
B.
B above Aya.
Yeah.
yeah, because he's solid, but he's the God. He's like the Garen. Everybody knows how to play Garen. Everybody knows what Garen does. But that doesn't mean Garen's bad. Like Garen does the exact same thing every single time, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna kill you. Like
He's definitely a character who's stable enough where I feel like you could climb with him if you're decent on him, no matter what your RNG is.
yeah, the circle. Okay, so the aura range is what got nerfed into the ground a million times. Yeah, Fat Man, easy S. Honestly,
Easy
he's-
S.
He's got the burst, he's got the health, he's got movement, he's got armor reduction, he's got AoE.
And- And they buffed him this patch.
oh, excellent.
they
because
buffed
I
him.
was not good at him, but I want to play him, so that'll make it
He
easier
is
to carry.
fucking nuts. This character is insane.
Let's get cooking.
Let's get cooking. Oh yeah, no, he's fantastic.
Fucking
I would find
easy
it hard
S.
to argue a reason for him to not be an S, honestly.
I don't actually know
I'm
what
good with that.
Mag.
Magnus is the.
He goes like here somewhere. I don't know where though. I
I
think-
put maybe.
AB that high?
Yeah, he's really strong. He's really. You can. If you're in solos, you can fight anyone. You're not gonna do as much damage as Yukai, but you can chase people forever because you take no damage, and the lower you get, the more damage you do. If he gets a weapon, he can kill just as easily as Aya. And he gets way tankier and has better scaling. So using Aya as a baseline, I'd say Magnus is better.
All right, that's
So,
fair. I
the
personally
only
think
limitation is-
I think Hyunwoo is better than Magnus though.
I would say yeah.
Fiora,
I was gonna say, I
She's
put her
so-
solid A.
so fucking easy, and it's
Yes,
just
she's.
it's literally the same thing as Jackie. If she gets on top of you, you're fucking dead.
I was gonna say I really like Fiora. I think in most matchups, like you said, she's really easy. You walk up, you go 1, 2, 3, and they're dead. But I definitely think she struggles against super tanky characters because I remember playing Fat Man and I got a huge health pool and she walked up and did 1, 2, 3 and took out like half my health and I went and then I killed her.
Let's do Connor's character.
I see a lot of people say that Lee Dai-Lin is like super S tier because she's got everything in her kit. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of times when you build her, she doesn't get that tanky and she has to really make use of her W to like dodge abilities or autos. And against people like Jackie, who can just burst her to death, or Fiora, who can 1, 2, 3 kill her, or people like Magnus and Fat Man, I always forget his name. They Jukai, yeah. You just can't kill them fast enough. You just can't do enough damage in a short amount of time for them to just not stand there and kill you.
This one is going to be actually difficult for us.
I was gonna say I'm just not gonna talk at this part because I've seen this guy like twice and I've never died to him. I don't think.
He's so mind gamey. Good e-souls are so much better than bad e-souls, and it's really hard to place him because the amount of variability in the way that you can play the game with him.
I
I'd
will say
high
that,
below A.
Like Lee Dai-Lin, I find him incredibly obnoxious when they run the invisibility spam build. I've
Is
never
it?
died to it, but it just pisses me off. It's like, can you stop wasting our time? Like, I've been rocking around trying to find you for 6 minutes. Like,
I was like, up until this point, A tier was like all the characters that I can just click on, load into a game, and win on the first go. You can't just fucking pick them up in a day.
Even his root on his bomb is one of the most annoying things in the game, though. I absolutely hate it.
Yuki.
put him like B, probably. I see him the same way as Hyunwoo, and that he's a very generic character. He's easy to play, and he's definitely not bad. But I don't think he's spectacular either. I might even say I might say he's better than Hyunwoo just because he has a lot of like, 0.5 second stuns that can be used to interrupt stuff.
He's really good at chasing. His disarm,
Yes.
if used properly, can lead to some outplays, but in most of these characters, he can't really do much more. I would put him above Hyunwoo as well.
Let's talk about the girl that I wish I loved.
Hyejin.
I love this character,
Oh my
but
god.
she's so bad.
It would be so. She could be so good. She could be so good, dude.
Like, her
'Cause-
kit doesn't work with itself. I think she's worse than Heart.
I think she's D. I was gonna say, I feel like she is a group play only character. I think in
Yep.
solo tier she is absolutely atrocious. In group
I
play, you can absolutely make
100%
her work.
agree.
I
But
was gonna say,
solo
when
play,
was
I
the last
think
time I
she's
even saw
trash.
Hyejin in solos?
When I tried to play her and you left,
Yeah,
say, one-
that's right.
she's one of
When I
my
walk-
favorite characters, and I can't play her.
I
'cause
would
she's so
love.
bad.
I would love to play this fucking character, but oh my god,
They're not gonna fix it by
Ugh.
fixing her stats. They need
No,
to
they
fix
need
the
to
way
fix-
that her abilities work together.
they need to
Because
fix
if you're
shurikens.
fearing, if they fear people using 3 procs, right? You've got 3 abilities that are going to fear people, right? And with 2 charges on your Q. If you're using your W to fear people, you're not getting any effectiveness out of the root or the fear because you're doubling up on your CC. If you're hitting them with your ulti for fear, they're going to run away from you. So it's not a good chasing tactic. It's only good for running. And if they're on top of you anyways, you're not going to hit them with their ult anyways. So half of her kit doesn't work well together. Her kiting potential has basically been diminished to can you hit your snare or not, and if the person's paying attention they're going to walk around the snare anyway, so it takes them, or they're going to use a dash through it, but like it just doesn't work well together. It's really hard to play her at a high level.
I wish her E was like Zed Shadow.
Yeah, where you could like
that would
switch
be
back and forth.
that is switch back and forth and be almost instantaneous.
The
I
other
think that
thing
would
is, I
make
think
it really good.
her ult definitely needs to be a much smaller circle.
Yeah, well, I don't know why it's so
It's
far out.
so far away from her. I'm like, bro, that's like the edge of your auto attack range. Like,
Sometimes it's past my auto attack range.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like,
a lot of
if
time.
you fear them on the edge of the circle, it's like, all right, well, like you said, they've ran away from me, so now I can disengage if I need to. That's the only purpose it serves. Let's talk about Bubble Girl.
My
With the
heart-
current stage she's in, dude.
I love Cicella. They've nerfed her E so much that I can't even hit people chasing me effectively. So like one of the biggest problems with the E distance nerf is she can't chase other people with her E at all. She's got really low base movement speed, so like it's hard to run away or chase people. And the more that you nerf her E, the less mobility she has around the walls.
She just kind of runs away like fighting her is like kind of what it feels like to fight an anemic person. They just kind of run away from you, and then you have to be an asshole and run them down and kill them. And like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, that's really how I feel. Every time I see her, I just go after her and kill her, and I'm like, I don't feel good about this. Like, I feel like I'm picking on a noob. Like, so my information on Kiara is very clearly outdated. I really liked her. She was the first character I played. I'll say this though, I don't understand her sometimes, because sometimes I'll be playing the game and I won't be doing that great, and I'll go up against somebody and I'll one-shot them. I'm like, oh damn. And other times I'll be on top of the world. I've got like 6 kills. I've killed half the lobby, and I go up against somebody who's half health. And I do my full combo, and they have like, you know, half of their remaining health left. So I've done a quarter of their health bar. I'm like, wait, what? Like I just, for some reason, I just don't understand how her damage works sometimes.
I actually think the movement speed is one of the main issues with the whole tier list in the whole game right now. Is almost every melee character is faster than almost every range character, even when they have higher levels of boots on the range characters.
I started putting Mavericks, by the way, Bart. I think Maverick runners are essential for range characters at this point.
I mean, as soon as you get into combat, though, you are slower than them again. It doesn't matter. It's really rough. So because Kiara is a melee character who also plays with ranged abilities, her movement speed is still enough to keep her relevant in every fight against literally every character. The difference is in how survivable Kiara is at that point in the game versus like Xiukai or Li Dailen, for example. Like those are probably her hardest matchups, because they can just live through her burst, and then she has to kite it out, which is really hard for her to do.
The anti-melee herself.
I think she's between Isol and Kiara.
I wouldn't put her that high, if I gotta be honest.
I wouldn't either, personally.
I'd smack her right here.
I've been destroyed by it. Is it Adriana? Right?
Adriana, yeah.
I've been destroyed by a lot of Adrianas, but like I feel like 80% of the time, it's like you said, it's anti-melee. It's very much a kite thing. It's like a singed. A lot of times I'll be playing Li Dailen and I see an Adriana show up, and I'll just dash the other direction, and they can't do anything.
She loses to every range. If played well, any range character just shits on her.
I'll let you do
It's
You've got way more experience on her than I do.
Her abilities are all really, really easy to dodge, because you can't change direction to flamethrower, and that's gonna be a lot of her damage. Burn stacks always fall off really fast, so if you try the skill amp thing, it doesn't matter, because as soon as they step out of your fire, it doesn't do any damage.
Yeah.
So it's just like you only have one option for a build, and that's going the AD one, which is extremely easily dodgeable. Shoichi's
I don't know. I don't know a ton about Shoichi. I definitely think he's in the top half of the tier list, A or S. Beyond that, I can't say much.
I think he's squishy enough, and his abilities are obvious enough where I wouldn't put him at us, actually. I think he's not even close to as good as Yukai. So,
All right,
like,
Bart. Let me ask you this:
maybe
Aga-
double
against-
S Yukai.
against
Maybe double
against
S Yukai.
against a Shoichi who knows how to play Shoichi, when was the last time you won?
I think she's the
In
one
her
range
cur-
character.
In her current state,
A. Like, I think she...
bottom of A.
Between... bottom. I would
Bottom.
put her higher. She's tanky enough to deal with any of the melee characters. If she's in a full melee lobby, she can just change her build. I think that she has the combo of melee range action, and she's the one range buster that has actual viable late game. I put her between Jackie and Fiora, probably. I think she has got great chase potential with her bike. She's got a lot of kite ability in her range phase if she's going up against someone she doesn't actually want to fight. She's got a bunch of scaling options, especially with the way that zones work for her. And there's a billion different kinds of builds you can run on her, depending on what the lobby's doing. So if you're good enough to
I
understand
wonder-
how to build outside
Just
of
because she
your-
has all these extra options and shit, I think that's why she's better than Jackie.
I would agree. Well, okay.
That's fine.
Jackie has so many options.
It's so funny. you know where I put release day Sylvia?
I would agree with that.
Oh my god, she was so bad. But she is actually just fucking insane now, and definitely is.
I don't know if I would put her better than Jackie,
No, I think she's better than Jackie.
but I think she has. I also haven't seen that many crazy Sylvias, and I don't know many people who know how to build outside of their build path very much. So if you can play with her outside of her build path based off of how the game's going, then I think she's better than Jackie, which is very hard to do, but that's kind of the premise.
I really just can't
so
fucking even play this character for some reason. She like breaks me for some reason.
She's hard.
She's very
really hard.
difficult. But if you know how to play this character, you can dominate a lobby. Except against Yukai.
So
Oh, Emma. What am I gonna do with her?
C,
She
high
is,
B, or sorry, low B, high C.
I think, top of the C tier, if I gotta be honest. She
In
she's
solos.
just-
In solos.
in solo, sure, yeah. She's just so weak.
Her personal damage is not enough to make up for.
I know the only actual way to build her in the solo SKU, I think, is a crit build, and that's just because crit is fucking stupid. That's literally all I can say about her. Like, she has the kite potential, which puts her above Hyejin and Heart, because of the amount of CC she has and the ability to get away from people very easily. But like, outside of that, you have to get kills early. If you don't get kills early, you're gonna lose. It's in the same situation as Nadine. If you don't get kills early, you're gonna lose real fast.
All of this changes based off of movement speed and based off of items pathing and whatnot. So
the
this
pro-
tier list is very subjective.
The issue with shurikens is that 3 of them out of like 5 or 6 require Buddhist scripture. So any character that has a shuriken has to go temple at some point. Has to. Because it's the only
Or
place
they
it's
need to
found.
Pray for the RNGesus on bats and other monsters.
Which is like, it's
Dumb.
it's retarded to do that, because like it's literally your green weapon upgrade is that Buddha scripture. So it's like, bruh. For most of the shurikens. That's why these shuriken characters are all down here. It's because of that. That's a big... Pathing is just so bad on some of these characters. That's just... They need to just increase variance and where items spawn, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can be changed that make the game a lot better. But...
I think part of the fun of this game is creating viable paths and like new builds that actually work. and there's not much variability in a couple of these characters' play. There's not many different ways you can play with, or you should play against them, because they are so predictable. When you load into the game and you see who's in the lobby, you don't have to guess at whose dots are in certain areas. Like,
You know
you know
where.
almost
Yeah.
every Magnus is starting dock. You know almost every Shuichi at some point is going to go dock or factory. Like, Aya almost always starts uptown or factory. Most of the Dagger characters start in chapel or alley and then move into chapel. Or sorry, not chapel,
say-
temple. Temple.
If you have a crit build, you have to go Avenue Alley. There's no avoiding it.
A lot of the characters are hammer or pickaxe limited.
Yep.
And they're very clear power spikes for other characters that if they wanted to kill people, they run into the hammer or pickaxe areas and just demolish them before they have a build. Yeah. It's a very strange environment.
But it's like we've been saying for a long time now. If they increase item variance, or when they increase item variance, then the game will be a lot more interesting. But that's literally what needs to happen, is they need to increase the item variance in the game.
I think the biggest loser here in this whole tier list is actually Hyjin. I don't
Yeah,
think her kit actually
100%.
works with itself. I think she
Fucking
needs
million
like a
percent.
functional ability rework. I think she's the only character that genuinely feels really bad to play in solos. Even though your character might not be amazing, like, they're all playable in solos. I think Hyjin is just, it feels rough.
I mean, here's another issue with a lot of these characters. It's like Hygiene, Emma, Cicella. It's all like, okay, these characters are obviously supposed to be ability-based characters, right? What's the most popular build on them?
Not ability based.
Crit or auto attack.
Yeah.
It's like, bruh, something needs to be done about skill amp and gemstones, pickaxes, and hammers, because it shows. It really shows.
Every single skill and build needs gold at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it's a drop near or a helmet. There's very few
It's-
accessories that are actually good for skill amp characters, to the point where most characters just end up running Schrodinger's box just to avoid having to get an annoying accessory.
I think the idea of skill amplification for their builds just needs something. It needs something. More options.
And I don't like the way that a lot of the characters feel. I personally prefer to play range characters, and so being so limited to a few different builds is probably one of the reasons why I don't play the game more. I don't feel like I get meaningful growth out of alternate pathings or alternate builds. Most of the time, I feel like my character either gets run down in the first 20 seconds, or I run down other people in the first 60 seconds. So they're more abstract things than just, is the character good or not in a tier list, and most of the reasons why the melee characters at the top are because of reasons that aren't their kit. And I think that's part of the whole balancing thing that is happening along with being in early access. So hopefully it just gets better.
And turn off the stupid ranked lock. You fucking idiots. God damn. I don't know.
I
won't go
that far.
All right, who went to a goddamn board meeting like, I got an idea that'll make queue times better. We turn off the queues. What? you guys. Oh my god. Literally breaking
Solo
my
queue is your
fucking
most
brain.
popular game mode, and it's one of the things that's going to build the game. People have a certain pride factor in any PvP game that is directly related to their solo queue rank, and turning that off is a poor decision just because they can't practice and they can't actually create a community. Even though it's a 1v1, like 1vx, you still get more active gameplay and more community ties through solo queue than any other queue. You might have close individuals who end up squatting up or playing duos or whatever, but they're not going to make any new ties, and they're not going to expand the community at all. Solo queue is probably the most important single queue for any game that involves PvP. So, moving forward, I think that's something you all should keep in mind. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching Bart's video, XD.
Omega lol.